Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Inshallah, I'm going to skip some of the hadith about Ramadan. We'll cover them soon, right before and in Ramadan. The next chapter is Babun fi ta'kidi wujubi zakah wa bayani fadliha wa ma yata'allaqu biha. The chapter on the emphasis of the requirement of zakah and explaining its virtues and what is connected to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah. He says, perform your prayer and give zakah. If you go and you actually count, alhamdulillah, we have advanced technology now. It's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can go and you can count easily the number of times that zakah is mentioned in the Quran. So if you do a count of the number of times zakah is mentioned in the Quran, it's 82 times. And if Allah mentions something so many times throughout the book, it's got to be something extremely important. And then what's also interesting is that if you count the number of times that salah and zakah are mentioned together at the same time, like in this verse right here, it's 32 times in the Quran. So that means that zakah is like at the same level of salah. It's a pillar of Islam. It's an obligation of Islam. And when Allah mentions it, He mentions them together. And subhanAllah, if you look back at, if you go back to the time of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, this is during the Khilafah Umayyad, the Umayyad Caliphate. This is, in the first, let's say 50 years after Hijrah. You find that the Muslim scholars actually did projects where they would start counting. They would count the number of words in the Quran. They would count the number of letters in the Quran. And we have those counts from those times. Imagine how painstaking that was, how much time that took. And now we have, mashallah, like Quran corpus that comes out of a university in the UK. You can go and trace every single root available as free open source. This is beautiful, alhamdulillah. We are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But despite the fact that we have the means and the technology, we don't have the taqwa of the people of the past. We don't have the akhlaq and the character of the people of the past. But nonetheless, we should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His blessings. And when we see this, and we see that zakah and salah is mentioned side by side together with one conjunction between them, one atf, one waw, it means that they're at the same level. And one of the problems that we find with some Muslims is that they will give priority to some things and then neglect other things. And I'm sure you witnessed this. Some people give a lot of priority to salah, but then they'll neglect zakah. Some people give a lot of priority to Ramadan or to fasting in Ramadan, but then they don't pay their zakah. Some people give a lot of priority to eating halal meat, make sure it has to be labeled halal as zabiha, but then they don't wake up for fajr or they don't perform their prayers on time. So the thing is, we have to understand across the board, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us something, there are categories. There's fard, there's a requirement, and then there's like taraweeh, recommended, it's sunnah, you should do it. And then there's other things. We need to make sure that in our own lives as Muslims, we're fulfilling the obligations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon us. And one of these is zakah. And it's been emphasized so many times again and again and again in the Quran because of how important it is. So we're going to be talking inshallah in the next few days about zakah and how it works and the emphasis and all of that. And soon we're going to have a zakah seminar inshallah ta'ala, hopefully before Ramadan, and we're going to be having a zakah seminar for young professionals, particularly those who are going to be building up their wealth in the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the people who fulfill our obligations of zakah and who understand the religion of Islam correctly. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.